What's up, everyone? Marc Lobliner, TigerFitness.com, CEO, MTS Nutrition, Exos trainer, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, check it out, guys. I've been trying to stay away from clickbaity bullshit, and that's been my goal on this channel. But every time I do a Q&A on Instagram, Instagram Live, I try to do it every day around 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Sorry, I was choking on it. I ate some cashews. Central Standard Time. So I try to do my live. Every time I do anything, it seems like a common question brought up is, what is my thought on Flex Wheeler's comeback? And Flex Wheeler has announced he will be competing at the 2017 Mr. Olympia, as well as Levrone, who made his comeback last year, placed last, but he, at 52 years old, made his comeback to the Mr. Olympia stage without qualifying first. Now, Levrone is doing a show before the Olympia this year, I believe. I don't follow bodybuilding enough to really comment on where I think they'll place. I will say that Levrone did deserve last at last year's Olympia. And I will say, for bias the other way, huge fan, personally and professionally. Every time I've talked to Kevin, the nicest guy. In fact, back in the day when I worked at Wheeler, I even gave him a ride home once. You know, there's my claim to fame on knowing Kevin. My name dropping. Yo, I gave Kevin a ride home. Now, this back when I was 20 years old. Flex has always been, you know, a nice guy. I've met him a couple times in passing. He might not remember it. He might. I hardly remember it, so probably not. But anyway, these are two legends. Back when bodybuilding was at its peak. I don't care if people say it was Arlen and Franco. I don't care if people say it's now, because it's definitely not now. The heyday was when you had Ronnie, Cormier, Flex, Sean, all those guys on stage. The guys placing 7th through 12th would have won the damn Olympia. Hell, these guys were literally a little bit of extra hard work away from beating Dorian, who in my opinion was just an amazing specimen at his time. You take any of those guys, put them against any of the guys now. I mean, you have Cormier and Flex and, oh my, Sean Ray. I mean, good God. The best ever. Here's the problem, though. They were around for the best, you know, the heyday of bodybuilding. Levrone, Cormier, Ray. You know, they're going and they're just killing it. Bodybuilding, in my opinion, was at its peak. These guys were just awesome specimens. Paul Dillette. And now it's over. So they try to start or, you know, try to keep... There's not much money in this industry. How much money do you think Flex could have brought in as a sponsored athlete for American, whatever, that Crealkaline brand, who I think Crealkaline's crap anyway, Carbolin, whatever they make. And then you have, you know, Kevin Levrone, who tried to start his own brand a few times, had the Levrone formula back in the day and a few things. I know he was affiliated with EST. There's not a lot of money in this industry, so when you get done competing, unless you're like Ronnie, and Ronnie actually, you know, partnered up with someone and started a very successful Inc. 500 company, or like Rich Gaspari, who in his heyday was a $78 million company, or Lee Labrada. There's very few. I just named 3 dudes. Other bodybuilders who've started supplement companies have been very small, and in fact, they kind of dissipate. Now, Lee Haney's done his little niche. He has his little Yamit product, and he does his thing. But for the most part, when you're done competing, you have nothing to do. Which brings me to a point, you know how many NFL players I know who made millions of dollars and are now broke? The key is nobody's saving for their future. And we used to joke around that, you know, you see somebody place top 5 in a bodybuilding show, instead of paying off debt, they go put new rims on their car. And I think that's what people do. That's what people do where I grew up. And it's like, you have money, you need to spend it. When you're in an industry where you have a finite amount of competition years, unless you're Dexter Jackson, who's 46 and probably going to place top 3 in the Olympia again, you have a finite amount of time where you can damage your body the way they do. So here's the thing. Whether you're an NFL player, an Insta-famous person, or someone else, you need to monetize yourself. Now, these guys obviously got in and they thought, you know, I'm a pro bodybuilder, and okay, I'm going to do my thing. Now, here's the problem. They're 50-plus years old. 50-plus years old. I'm 36, and I'm feeling life kicking my ass. Sure, they may not have the thing of the growing up, the family growing up and this and that. They might not have the stressors that, let's say, someone like me or someone with an immediate family has. But still, at 52 years old or 53, there's a lot of things going on, right? So here's the deal. You have issues. Competing at the Olympia level, assuming you're not on any drugs, no drugs at all, we're competing naturally. Humor me. Flex had a kidney transplant. The man has a genetic kidney problem that was probably sped up through the use of his performance-enhancing drugs, which he's admitted to. He's also admitted using synthol and all that. I'm all for it. Hey, he was competing well within the guidelines of what that organization demanded, required. Likewise, Kevin, albeit a genetic freak, is 50 plus years old. The demands you put on a body to get ready, not just to get ready for a show naturally, but let's assume you're using harsh, competitive agents. You're putting a lot of stress on your body. So essentially, here's how I see it. They really need to do this. This is what they need to get out there. Like Levrone's brand has blown up, well, relatively speaking to what it was. Like Levrone, I remember seeing him at a trade show and there was nothing. Since he announced his Olympia plans, I remember Body Power last year before the Olympia, he had the longest line at the damn expo. I mean, it's working. He brought hype. In fact, I think he was the only reason a lot of people went to the Olympia. It was such a dead show last year. Also, you got Flex. I mean, probably these are two of the most genetically gifted bodybuilders in the history of the sport, if not the most. Even more than Phil the Gift Heath. And these guys in their 50s are coming back. And I'm sorry to say, and these guys are guys I respect, I admire. It's kind of sad. It just shows that beyond bodybuilding, they weren't able to forge a career. I doubt that their passion for the stage is what's driving them, especially Flex, who was known throughout his career as being lazy and arrogant. Just that's the rumors. Okay? At the end of the day, he was doing some, behind the scenes stuff for MD and RX or whatever he was doing. What happens when that runs up? What happens when the publishing industry, magazines are dead? What happens then? You got to find a way to hustle. And I respect them for that. When you got to make money, you do what you need to do. And if that means getting out and pouring concrete, or if that means getting on stage, that's great. But I think there's a lesson to be learned. Now, these are two of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. Of all time. So here's the deal. Let's say you're a fitness model. Realize that unless you can monetize something to go beyond what you're doing, something non-physical, something non-aesthetic, something with your brain. Unless you can do that, what happens when your 15 minutes of fame are over? What happens if you get an injury? What happens if your left nipple starts drooping? What happens? Rich Gaspari is amazing. He's an amazing guy. But he's making money with his mind now. Yeah, I mean, his company isn't what it used to be. It went from whatever, 78 million to being purchased or acquired majority-wise by high tech. But Gaspari's out there hustling, selling. And I don't think anybody's going to argue that Rich's body isn't what it used to be. But Rich has started something beyond. So what happens if that supplement venture doesn't work? You need to have an alternative plan. You need to have a way to make money. So these people are like, I want a career in fitness. I want to be on the gram. I want this. I'm going to quit my job and just be a fitness model. Then what? What happens when you're 40 or 50 or 60? What happens if you're driving around in your Lambo or your Porsche SUV and you have no money saved away? You have no nest egg. What happens if you can afford your style of living, which is a $10,000 rent on a beachfront property right now, but YouTube changes its algorithm, or your sponsor falls out, or something happens? What happens then? You lose everything. You lose everything. That's why on this channel, unlike other channels, except I will say Elgin Intensity is extremely profound and smart, we preach sustainability. We preach fiscal responsibility. We preach being a man. What does a man do? He takes care of his shit. So I will say that Levrone and Flex, They're doing what they can to sustain. They're working. Oh, well, competing's not working. Have you ever gotten on stage to compete at the level of being in the Mr. Olympia, even if you're dead last? I'm sorry. That is sacrifice, and that is fucking hard. It really is. Look at YouTube. You have these YouTubers out there. I'll mention one. Vegan Gains. Dude was getting tens of thousands of views, slandering people. Hell, he took me, got me good, roasted me. It's kind of funny, actually. Got Mike Rashid, name dropping, clickbaiting. What now? He could have built a positive image. He might not have had a lot of followers, but he could have got sponsored by Vega. Or he could have got sponsored by a vegan, just supporting, promoting vegan ideals. He could have built a nest egg. He could have started an affiliate program with a vegan supplement line. Instead, he became toxic. And now that YouTube changed their algorithm and checks not rolling in, he does a video asking people to donate money to keep his channel alive. That's not a man thing to do. You don't see Levrone and Flex asking for a donation. They're out earning their money. Sure, they're competing to do it, but Levrone's doing that for PR to sell product. I'm sure Flex will be doing the same. And he's also doing what he can to keep his name relevant. That's a man thing to do. So what's the point of this? The point of this is to say you need to look beyond today and look into the future. Do a Ben Franklin chart. Positives, negatives. Okay? Make sure that all of your decisions positively affect your future. Make sure that the negatives from making that decision don't negatively affect your future. If buying that Lambo isn't sustainable, God forbid your YouTube algorithm money runs out, it's probably a bad idea. Likewise, if you have a career, okay, and you're making $80,000 a year and you don't have 3 to 6 months of salary saved up, just in case you get laid off or you lose your job, realize living within your means is an insurance policy. Because generally speaking, if you make a certain amount and you know you can make a certain amount in your area and you've networked properly, you should be able to go, whether you're making $11 an hour as a shipping clerk or whether you're making $200,000 a year as a VP. You should have that scalability to know that you should be able to live on whatever you needed to, God forbid that job fall out of place. And if you're in a transient career, like being a fitness model, like being a professional bodybuilder, an NFL player, or an MLB player, be sure to know that that income is transient. Save, invest, and plan your next step for the future. What will you do when that well runs dry? Where will you get your water? Where will you drink? That's the question. Anyway, this was not meant as a slam piece. I wish the best to both Flex and Kevin. I want them to be safe and be careful. And I want them to win the goddamn Olympia, because I've always wanted to see both of them win that show. And I always thought both of them should have won it. God forbid that man Ronnie Coleman didn't step in right when they were at their peak. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I'm Marc Lobliner, TigerFitness.com. Comment down below your opinion on the situation, and that's not a game. So I'm looking at my email this morning. I get a mass email from one of the other sites that sell supplements that you're just a number to, right? They were bragging that one supplement line was free shipping. Bro, if you order over $99 in product in the continental US any day of the week, free shipping anywhere in the US, at continental USA. Free shipping on orders over $99 at TigerFitness.com. Why even look at the other guys? And also, we ship from Vegas and Ohio. Most places in the US are a 1 to 2 day ship, and that's not a game.